We do not want to create the impression that the highest forces are readily available to everyone. Their development requires constant striving for purification and refinement in order to become worthy of them. Again, the law of correspondence applies. Higher powers are only accessible to those who stand high on the ladder of hierarchy. What I do deny is that a sensualist, a drunkard, a glutton, a hypocrite, a selfish or diseased man or woman is capable of evoking or controlling the higher or finer forces of nature until such time as he has eradicated vice and disease from mind and body. Psychic energy can also be abused. The subtle consciousness makes use of forces in creative tension, but the gross consciousness and the destroying spirit force the levers toward evil doings. Psychic energy in human hands is a most fearful weapon. Therefore, this power cannot be made available to anyone, just like you would not give a knife into the hands of a baby. The very same force can serve for construction or for destruction. Only lofty thinking and purity of heart can be a pledge of the good employment of the power. He who is unable to control himself cannot be allowed to make use of higher forces, because applying them, he would only cause damage. In good hands, energy is an instrument of good. It is indeed fortunate that many do not know how to approach the power. Only after improvement of the consciousness is it possible to entrust psychic energy for broad use. Let this good time approach more quickly. Why give you more definite directions for the further unfoldment of psychic senses and gaining of spiritual power, as I have been repeatedly requested to do, when I am forced to see that I would only add to your responsibility and place in your hands, figuratively speaking, a dangerous two-edged weapon with which to slay yourselves and others. Without the virtues of humility, obedience, and chastity as a foundation, the attainment of such spiritual and psychic qualifications as you desire would be detrimental in the extreme. They could work you irremediable harm if you had not the power to control them to your advantage, and such power can only be won by the practice of the virtues mentioned by me. It is vital to make sure that psychic energy is used only in accordance with the direction of the evolution and in compliance with the cosmic laws. But if he has proven himself recreant and disobedient to the injunctions of his teachers, he will not be given such knowledge. For further disobedience would be apt to follow, perhaps in the misuse and willful abuse of the knowledge gained, and only lead to great personal wrongdoing. If you are strong, brave, loyal and obedient enough to keep en rapport with your teachers, The deep truths concerning these mysteries will be opened to you, and opened rightly. Psychic energy is a force of the spiritual world that must not be used for selfish, personal purposes. It is especially inadmissible to strive to apply the subtlest energies for personal aims. May the higher force communicate inner power to us, but it is impermissible to forcibly apply the beautiful energy for personal interest and gain. You also observed how the personal disappeared from daily life with the growth of psychic energy. Just as strained labor increases your psychic energy, so inaction diminishes it. Hakuna Matata, aimlessly live from day to day, and to indulge in distraction weakens the force of our spiritual being. Inaction is most corruptive for psychic energy. The energy may become silent if it is not summoned to action. To indolence is attached doubt and self-pity. No energy comes into action through such a poisonous handicap. Doubt corrodes everything. Unsustained efforts and self-pity weaken even the strong in spirit. Such an introduction must be given to each one who wishes to bring psychic energy into action. Doubt is a spiritual poison that downright destroys psychic energy. Why? Because a man doubting knows neither his path nor his goal. He is therefore unable to take a firm decision and to defend it against adverse circumstances. Without a reliable spiritual foundation, no powerful, purposeful, and enthusiastic action is possible. Doubt devours psychic energy. Irritability and anger also reduce psychic energy. Why? Because these put you beside yourself and thus work against concentration and the gathering of spiritual powers. Imperil, the deposit of irritation, is the chief enemy of the development of psychic energy. Sadness, dejection, dissatisfaction, and self-pity also destroy your psychic energy. In such a mood, you are unable to call into action your higher spiritual forces. Hypochondria can be defined physiologically as the dissolution of heart energy. Labor which is unimportant, boring, and carried out reluctantly without the fire of enthusiasm consumes your psychic energy, because you are unable to devote to it your full spiritual strength. Ordinarily, the dissipation of Agni occurs in everyday life when the spirit slumbers. The accumulation of Agni is arrested by trivial actions. When darkness blankets the process of perfection, then the fire imperceptibly departs from the worthless recipient. Fear paralyzes the will and thus the ability to act. Of course, Imperial is the main destroyer of psychic energy, but one should not forget three other violators: fear, doubt, and self-pity. When it becomes possible to physically measure psychic energy, it will be instructive to see how these darkeners work to disrupt the flow of energy. Finally, overeating, alcohol and sweets burden the spirit so that it can no longer soar freely and act powerfully. Excessive emaciation and corpulence are equally harmful for ascent. They equally nullify psychic energy. The middle path foresees the best conditions. Each of you has already felt by your own experience that what we say is not theory. You know that you lose energy under the influence of this spiritual poisons. The present humanity shows with its recklessness, lack of discipline, and pleasure-seeking a tendency to self-destruction. By reducing our psychic energy, we mutilate ourselves. It would be the greatest victory of the dark forces if they could succeed to bring us so far as to destroy ourselves, our highest opportunities. Man should be told, do not weaken yourself. Discontent, doubt, self-pity all consume the psychic energy.